நம்ம லைவ் கொடுத்துட்டேங்க மேம். மேம் அவர் பேர் என்ன சொன்னீங்க?
ப்ரொஃபஸர் இளங்கோ. ஃபோர்த் வால் தியேட்டர் ஏதாவது வந்துங்களா?
ஃபோர்த் வால் தேட்டர் வந்துருச்சுங்க. லாகின் பண்ணி வந்தீங்கன்னா பிரிண்ட் பண்ணிடலாம். ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? இல்லையே மேம், பின்னில் தான் இருக்கீங்க. ஃபைவ் ஆக போகுது மேம். ஜான் பால் சார் ரெக்கார்டிங் மட்டும் போட்டால் கேட்டுங்களா? ரெக்கார்ட் போட்டுருவாங்களா? மீட் ரெக்கார்டிங். ஓகே, போட்டு.
Sir, voice is not coming, sir.
இல்லை மேம், பின்னில் தான் இருக்கு. இல்லை மேம், இருக்கீங்க, இவ்வளோ லாகின்ல தான் இருக்கு. இதுலேயே பேசுங்க, இதில் பேசிட்டீங்களா?
Hello. Good evening, all.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, we'll start.
Sir, good evening, sir. Shall we start, sir?
Good evening, good evening,
We'll
good
start.
evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. We shall start.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Yes, ma'am.
everyone. Most respected resource person of the day, Professor N. Ilango, founder director of Fourth Wall Theatre and former associate professor and head of English American College, our beloved principal Dr. S. Pariniyamal, and even convener Professor John Paul Bubati, professors and scholars across the nation. We have a lot of registrations today across the nation, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this national level webinar on characterization, text and performance. I hope this session would be very, very informative for all of us, because even the title itself stimulates our imagination and creativity. I welcome you all once again to this session. Thank you.
May I now welcome our beloved principal, Dr. S. Palaniammal, to address the gathering and give her presidential address. Ma'am, please unmute your mic, ma'am. Your mic is on mute.
Yeah. Good evening to all. It is really, I'm very happy to notice that around 893 participants are there for this webinar on characterization, text and performance. This, I think it is maybe because of the resource person, and Ilango sir, the former associate professor and head postgraduate department of English, the American College, Madurai. He is also the founder director of Fourth Wall Theatre. And I'm very happy to appreciate the Department of English for having arranged such a webinar, which is really going to be very interesting, and it is going to be really, as the head of the department pointed out, it is going to stimulate the creativity and innovation among the participants. And this is the second time the resource person is addressing to our college through online. The first time he inaugurated the drama club. And in fact, our students were really very much inspired and given very good feedback about the session. And I'm happy that again he is joining with us today for this webinar. And about this webinar, actually the drama has been playing a pivotal role in human life since its inception long back in history, around the 6th century. Drama has also faced a lot of challenges in its form and performance. There were many dramatists in literary history, including in Greek Homer, Sophocles, during the BC, and in English, Ben Jonson, Shakespeare, and Marlowe in the medieval era, and Bernard Shaw in the modern era, who satisfied the audience need on stage. There can be a few minute differentiations found between the textual characters and characters in performance. A character in drama directly found between the text, directly influences the audience as it imitates their lives. So it becomes necessary to understand how the characterization in drama differs in text and in performance. So this webinar will be the right platform to understand the characterization clearly. In fact, I appreciate the Department of English for having arranged this webinar, and also I expect them to arrange many such webinars, particularly for the literature students and the people of the English department, so that which really benefit them with such eminent persons addressing to them and sharing their expertise. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And now I leave the forum to the English department to take over.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for your wonderful address. And it is my former duty to introduce the chief guest, Professor N. Ilango. He is the former associate professor and head of the Department of Postgraduate Department of English, the American College, Madurai, and he was also the founder director of Fourth Wall Theatre, Madurai. And he's now presently the head of the Department of English Self-Financing Wing, Manna Thirumalai Nayakar College, Madurai. He has directed and staged 18 classics, among which 9 plays are from Shakespeare's. And he is the official translator of the transgender activist Kalki Subramanian. He has written and published the book Film Appreciation for Beginners, which is a prescribed text for many colleges and universities on film appreciation paper. He has conducted more than 50 workshops on theater arts for many colleges and school students. He was a resource person for workshops on eco-criticism, cultural studies, semiotics, and myth criticism. Even during this lockdown, he conducted 2 webinars, one on culture and myth, and the other on ecofeminism. Above all, he wishes to be remembered as a teacher. And it is our pleasure to welcome Professor Annie Ilango for this virtual program, a national level webinar on characterization, text, and performance. On behalf of the management of Sri Krishna College of Arts and Science, the principal and staff of the Department of English, we welcome you, sir. And the forum is open to you, sir.
Is the floor mine now, Professor John Paul?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your invite. And I feel so responsible for the overwhelming response given by the theatre lovers. I know theatrical activities and debates and discussions on drama have gained momentum, especially during this COVID-19 session. The reasons are humanist. We all know that once when we are locked down, inactive, our human spirit bubbles and restlessly looks out for action, performance, because we have always been a performing being. Ever since the first genome entered the world, slowly, very gradually, we have gained momentum to be what we are. Whether it is progressive or retrogressive, that time has to say. But we are happy to be alive. We are happy to be human beings. We are happy to be performing forever and ever. So it is my great privilege here to address this 800 plus audience and to satisfy you all. I feel so responsible now. So today, what I propose to do is, I'm going to talk very briefly, a couple of sentences, just a few sentences, on the various types of characters. Because many of you here are theatre scholars, I know. I see many faces and names here which have been attending, who have been attending theatrical webinar for almost 30 days in 3 sessions conducted by National School of Drama. I think I see Miss Purni Kulkarni here. You see so many faces I see here. So I want to do justice to all the audience, right from the undergraduate students and those who are standing very much near me, and those who are already exponents of theatre. So I'm going to give a very brief introduction on the various types of characters, very brief. When I give this introduction, when I mention these characters, please do not think these characters are found only in traditional theatre. You see, these characters are found in all plays, in all forms of theatre. They may not be ostensibly protagonist, the central character, or the antagonist. The character need not be a villain, as the protagonist need not be a hero. The concept of a hero is something different. It is medieval. It is romantic. Such heroes can be found only in allegorical writings such as Edmund Spenser's Fairy Queenie. You see, such heroes do not have any space in theatre, because theatre deals with humanity, and human beings are complex in nature. No one can be allegorically good or extremely bad or totally the ugly. No one can be like that. We are the bundle of various conflicting characteristic features. Someone has left the mic unmuted, so it is disturbing the audio system. Maybe the moderator can find out and mute the mic of the person from your side.
So I
You
am
can do
muted,
that.
sir.
Yeah,
I
thank
am
you so
muted,
much.
sir. Muted.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't want the audience to be disturbed. That's all. I can go on. Whether I get an applause or a cat call, I can go on. I am 30 person, but I don't want the audience to be disturbed. Anyway, back to our story. So, first of all, you should know what type of character you are creating and what type of character you are enacting. That is the logical beginning. A dramatist, when he writes, as the age-old anthem goes, the protagonist is good, but not too good. So even the hero of the tragedy, even the hero of the comedy we need not ask, they are a bundle of incongruities. Even the hero of the tragedy, even though he is the noblest of all human beings present in the world created by the theater, the drama, the dramatis personae, even that character has a grievous error. You see, a sorry story in him or her. So nobody is the extreme. We are all somewhere in the middle, standing in the overbridge to cross or not to cross, somewhere caught in the middle. Theater always, you see, remember, theater is not here to tell a story. Solomon Grundy born on Monday, Krishna on Tuesday, married on Wednesday, so on and so forth. Theater should begin. There is a point which is called the point of departure. Where does the story kickstart from? And what is the point of arrival? Where should the story be, plot structure be concluded? So the story would begin literally in the most intense moment of a few human beings' life. These human beings may be the tailors of the time or the fools of the time. You see, they can be the tailors of the time or the fools of the time. They may not be the main character, but each and
Sir,
every character
excuse me,
would.
sir.
Yes, who is that, Regan? Somebody?
Excuse me, sir. I have a small doubt, sir. They are the regal.
Pardon me. If you have doubt, if my voice is audible, just follow my voice. If you have doubt, you can type it in the chat box and send it and enter the question. These questions will be collected by the moderator, and the moderator will ask me the questions. If the time doesn't permit to answer all your questions, never worry about that. You can send the questions. The moderator will send the questions to my email ID, and this night itself, all the questions will be answered as much as I know the answers for them all. Is it all right? So first, you listen to me for some 30 or 40 minutes. You see, give this old man that liberty, some space. Anyway, back to our discussion. So what happens here is that it may be a minor character or a major character, but the character belongs to a group, some group, some group. So they have an active role, whether direct or indirectly, knowingly or unknowingly, thinking that they know what they are doing, but doing something opposite or being manipulated, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern characters in the Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet. Many people may have been caught in the crossfire of this dramatic conflict, but they are willingly participating in the action. They may not know the gravity of the issue. So no character is an onlooker. Even the Canterbury women in T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral are not just onlookers, even though they say they call themselves so, because the world has been corrupting or corrupted by them. So with this idea, an actor or a creator, whether you are a playwright or you are a play actor, what type of character you are creating, what type of character you are going to enact. You should know that first. Accordingly, you can change the texture, tone, and everything. We will go to that later. Now, for protagonist, as the protagonist need not be the hero in the classical sense or in the allegorical sense. He need not be the Red Cross Knight. He cannot be the Red Cross Knight. If he is the Red Cross Knight, he won't fall down. Anyway, like that, the antagonist also need not be a villain always. The antagonist is the resistance to the attempts made by the protagonist. That's all. The antagonist is an adversary to the protagonist. That's all. The dimension of the antagonist, as plays are meant for human beings, the dimensions of the antagonist may change according to the history, according to the cultural climate. For example, Shylock, whom Shakespeare created as a combination of devil and clown, evil and clown. How Heath Ledger did his role in Joker, how Anthony Hopkins did that. You see, so Phoenix did that. It is a combination of cruelty and laughter. That was how Shakespeare created Shylock's character. But what happened when a person called William Kemp came to act, came to do the role Shylock? Shylock became a horrendous villain. And later on, what happened? After the Second World War, after the Holocaust, when Wilson Knight went on a tour of lectures, highlighting the passages which represent the plight of Jews, Shylock came to be known as someone who was more sinned than sinning. That is how Al Pacino presents Shylock in 2000 version of The Merchant of Venice. Al Pacino does Al Pacino, the famous method actor, you see, like Marlon Brando, Vivian Lee, you see, famous method actor. But Al Pacino would call himself an intuitive performer. Intuitive performer. We will go to immersion performing and intuitive performing later. Now, so the character, the antagonist is a resistance to the protagonist. An antagonist need not be perceived as a villain always. Remember that. Then what do you have? I am not going to do the character of confidant. Confidant would be a trusted friend of the protagonist. I am not going deep into that. The character has become so common nowadays, both in drama and cinema. You see, even in ordinary formulaic cinemas, the hero is always accompanied by a friend who plays the role of a comedian. You see, seldom he acts as a confidant. Now, what the two more characters which I am going to mention now are of vital importance. You see, those characters are first, foil character. Foil character is not, unfortunately, as viewed by some of our movie makers today, it is not the reverse of hero character. No. It is the other of the hero character. It is not the adversary necessarily of the hero character. For example, if Hamlet wants to be moralistic, even in avenging his father's death, another character, Laertes, Ophelia's brother, who also wants to avenge the death of his father, does not bother about any moral question. As Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly film presents the ugly character, beautifully played by, so mesmerizingly played by the actor of the yesteryear, the late Eliva Luck. Eliva Luck, in a scene, shoots down the person who goes on talking, carrying the gun, and says, if you want to shoot, shoot, don't talk. You see, like that. Laertes does not have any moral bearings in him. He is in the same boat. He is in the same situation as Hamlet is. While Hamlet has been procrastinating, delaying the action because of the moral righteousness, Laertes does not bother about that. If you look closely, you will be aware of the question, when you have decided to take revenge, where comes the moral question? Revenge in itself cannot be contained into the moral fiber or the moral framework. Am I not right? How can you take revenge morally? Revenge itself is wrong. So Laertes does not have these philosophical questions. He just draws the sword, even if the sword is unbuttoned, or even if the sword is poisoned, he doesn't care. He wants to kill him, he wants to kill him. That's all. He will kill him. That's all. You see, so this is a foil character. In all other means, both these characters are good, both these characters are the same age, both these characters are suffering from the same problem. You see, in the sense they have lost their parents, and the plot structure traces them as preparing to avenge the death of their fathers, respectively. This is a foil character. The same problem when it comes, how this problem will be handled by the foil character as totally different from the protagonist character. So when you create a foil character, when you do a foil character, what you should do is you should avoid doing whatever the protagonist does. Your physical, your emotional bearings would be different. We will go to the dimensions later, you see. Now, finally, there is a character. This character is called Reisenhower character. Reisenhower. This Reisenhower character is the authorial voice. Author's voice. It is like the conscience of the author, because a major character, especially a protagonist, cannot be objective, because the problem affects the protagonist directly. So does it many other characters, because they are all actively involved in that. They are all directly affected by the action. Whereas there will be a minor character. This minor character must be there, not obviously telling the messages. I am telling this to the aspiring script writers. At some point, what is the moral vision? Moral vision need not be God loves the poor, suffering is a virtue. I'm not talking about moral vision within quotes. What is the dramatic meaning of the action? What is the vision people get out of this action? It could be ruin or it could be constructive. It could be catastrophic or it could be reunion. It could be the do's or the don'ts. However, something must be said. This calls for a debate, I know that, because one of my close friends, my colleague, and an excellent theatre man, Ira Prabhagar, Prabhagar Vedamanikam of American College, who is staging Tamil drama. You see, he once quarreled with me telling that, Ilango, not all works have to tell a message. I said, no artistic work is built on a message. If it is built on a message, then it will get the staged quality. No, a work of art comes out spontaneously, but it talks about something important because it has a human interest. So the audience takes something from that. The message you take may not be the message I take, but somewhere there must be an identity. And this identity is given space from the Reisenhower's voice, the authorial voice. Okay, these are the traditional types of characters, conventional types of characters, which you find even in experimental theatre. I'm not talking about the magnitude of each and every character. It could be a buffoon, it could be a Sutradhara, it could be a Katyangara, it could be a Nata, it could be a clown, it could be a fool. Need not be always major character. But this character will be there. These characters will be there. An action, somebody actively trying to complete that action, but in a different way. And what is the possible? What is meaningful? Is it nonsensical? Even the Reisenauer can say what a waste the whole thing is. Like Horatio telling in John Webster's The Duchess of Malfi, these are the ancient ruins. Like Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood, adaptation of Shakespeare's Macbeth, beginning with the ancient ruins to say what a waste there is. How nobly something could have stood. How things have become rubbles. You see, waste. What a human waste it is. You see, so it can be anything. But these are the types of character. Now, one should know what type of character he is writing or he is representing on stage. Next, the various dimensions of the character. You see, very simple, very simple. Physical dimension, social dimension, psychological dimension, and spiritual dimension. By spiritual dimension, I don't mean anything religious or even philosophical. Spiritual in the sense I say, ultimately, has this character come out to be sympathetic or unsympathetic? Even a villain's character one can identify with. Even a hero's character one can be critical of. You see, so is this character a sympathetic character or unsympathetic character? That's all. Is this character a flat character or a round character? What is the flat character? The character refuses to change, fails to see, adamant to change. Iago till the end doesn't change. That is why Iago's character is enigmatic. Even Hamlet changes. The one who began with how weary, stale, and unprofitable seems to be all the uses of this world, and proceeded in that direction to be or not to be, whether it is nobler in the mind to bear the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, finally ends up saying there is a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. Readiness is all. God has appointed everybody to his own job. It is not that time is out of joint and I have to set it right. God has ordained this kind of faith with which he ends make his character a round character. If the character remains flat, then the character is an unsympathetic character. If the character tries to fluctuate itself, adaptive, and tries to understand, even the horrendous villain like Bozola in The Duchess of Malfi demands our sympathy, and finally we conclude our understanding of Bozola's character. You see, a Machiavellian character, a malcontent, a misanthrope, a misogamist, a misogynist, everything negative you can associate Bozola with. That is what he is. But this character, when it reaches its completion, this character is chosen by John Webster to be the nemesis, the agent of nemesis, the one who executes the poetic justice to punish the vice. Then what? You understand that this Bozola's character is a representative of the intellectual, emotional, spiritual crisis the Elizabethan England underwent, the intellectual young men underwent during the transitional period between Elizabethan reign and Jacobean reign, from faith to doubt. You see, so caught in the crossroads of faith and doubt, this character has become negative. The moment you catch that point, then you identify yourself with the character, whether it is Grish Karnad's Tuklak, you see, or an experiment with truth by Asif Karimboy. You can identify, or many plays you have come across like that. You are caught in the crossroads of your intellectual process, that you do not know what is right and what is wrong, what to do and what not to do, whether to trust in it or not. You do not know. The moment you understand Bozzola's character, so even though Bozzola's character is an antagonist, the most villainous of all characters, the character becomes round. It returns to its primitive innocence. Primitive innocence. Suddenly the play, which is a horror, which is a thriller, you see, full of gory violence because of a revenge tragedy genre, the play becomes highly spiritual and philosophical. You just let out a sigh of a long breath and say, my God, what an eventful life is this. How many people I have seen. How many twists and turns I have seen in one life. Then, like Robert Frost, you can say, if design governs things, then what would be the design for us all? You see, you are shaken by the shadows played on the stage, by realizing if shadow could be so horrendous, then what could be reality? What could reality be? So this is what I mean by spiritual dimension of the character. Now, the psychological dimension, I'm going in the reversal order. You see, the psyche, because all these things ought to be physically presented on stage by the writer as well as by the writer in the script and by the actor on stage. So I'm going in the reversal order. So for this spiritual end, for having ended up sympathetic or unsympathetic, flat or round, could there be any psychological reason? You need not suddenly jump into Oedipus, or you need not jump into Freud or Lacan, or nothing like that. You can just ask basic questions. Is this character cold or reciprocative? You see, remember that. If you are creating a character, does this character reciprocate to other characters? The most is reactive, not reciprocating. Reciprocation is you listen to others and try to meet their need. You willfully extend your hand to patch the difference. When the other hand is extended towards you, at least when the other hand is extended towards you, you can at least offer your hand. If not holding the hand and shaking it in equality, you can even offer your hand. But if you keep away with the least stiffening of your neck and the pursing of your lip and turning away your eyes and looking at something else, you see, then you are not reciprocating. You are cold. This must be conserve and build. You should take the character you are representing to this level. So ask this question. Is this character aggressive or firm? Some characters are firm because they are self-confident, moral integrity, emotional fortitude. That is different. There will always be a pleasant expression in the eyes and a smile on the lips, even when they refute a charge. Like Othello doing in the inquiry scene in the court of Venice. When Othello is accused by Desdemona's father that he has used some witchcraft to seduce his daughter, who otherwise wouldn't have fallen in love with him. What an insult. He is insulted because he's a black. You see, Othello has morally fortified. He has emotional integrity. So he speaks in straight lines, symmetrically arranged lines. You see, I have always explained my sufferings to others. Desdemona has listened to that. She pitied me for the sufferings I had undergone, full stop. And I loved her that she pitied them, full stop. This is the only witchcraft I applied, full stop. Here comes a lady, let her witness it, full stop. So morally integrated, emotionally fortified, that she doesn't stammer, she doesn't get angry, she is not frustrated, even though he's grossly insulted in the court. So this is the emotional side. This is the psychological side of the character. But the same Othello, when he is disintegrated after being poisoned by Iago, exactly in Act 3, Scene 3, with a simple utterance, ha, I like not that. It's not I don't like it. I like not that. That is what Iago is. You see, that's one. Always perverting the situation. So his language is also perversion. You see, that writer should write that way. You see, he is a pervert. Othello is emotionally disintegrated. His fortitude is lost. So now he speaks falteringly, he stammers, he uses run-on lines, he leaves enjambments, gaps in between, he stammers. All these things happen. So psychologically, is this character firm or is this character aggressive? Always speaking like that, tilting the neck to the right side. You see, what kind of character is this? Then the social background, especially in modern times. I tell you, it may be postmodern time, but one thing has flown from modernism to postmodernism, that is Darwinism. You see, we consider human beings as a product of the genetic inheritance and the social influence. So the social background, when you ask the social background, you can ask simple questions like rich or poor, educated or uneducated, pleasant society, welcomed in the respected in the society or society. So that would have affected the psychology. And the psychological barrier would have had its telling on the spiritual dimension. So accordingly, you create the physical dimension because the character ought to appear on stage. How can you create? How generally the masters create? There is not one way in which the characters are created and the characters are enacted. You see, I'm going to deal with both these aspects parallelly due to the time constraint. I'll talk about how the author created the character and how the character variously enacted on stage with simple examples and leave some space for discussion if necessary. Right. You see, now some directors, for example, such directors as the principal mentioned, Bernard Shaw or Henry Gibson, you see, they would give, Bernard Shaw and Henry Gibson, I know, I think, I hope you know, that definitely I know you know, you see, Bernard Shaw and Henry Gibson. These people give minute details about, to the nth degree. They will even talk about the shoulders. I'll tell you an example. You see, in Henry Gibson's Hedda Gabler, easily you can find it. It's a very famous play. You see, Hedda Gabler, Hedda Gabler, Hedda Gabler, Henry Gibson's Hedda Gabler. There are two women characters. One is Hedda and the other is Gabler is her father's name, but she is married even when the play begins. But the title still says Hedda Gabler, not Hedda Testman, Testman her husband. You see, that has an important thing to say, that she remains her father's child rather than her husband's wife. Yes, or else why should the writer give the title as Hedda Gabler when she is already married to Testman and now others call her Mrs. Testman? So the author wants to stand the title opposite to her present scene, her present life, the resistance between Gabler and Testman in Hedda. Hedda wants social security, so has married Testman. But her father, Gabler, has brought her up as an adventurous woman, so she is longing for adventure. She was in love with a person who called Lovborg, you see, who took up to drinking, so she had to marry Testman, her classmate. All of these people are classmates, schoolmates at least. Testman, Hedda, Lovborg, and Thea. You see, this Hedda and Thea are of same age. They are both are beautiful. But Gibson gives minute details about these characters. The hair of Hedda is plaited and straight, whereas Tia's hair is cascade of hair, flowing hair, beautiful hair. You see, Hedda's eyes are steely grey, almost curtailing anyone from entering through it. Eyes are the windows of your mind. Am I not right? Am I not right? Whereas Tia's eyes always have a started look in that. Even if you call her Tia, what she would say, you see? So that's like that, the way they have dressed. Both of them are dressed well, but Hedda's dress is to the date, avec, you see, the style. Whereas Tia's dress is decent, good, but not up to the date. Not trendy, not trendy. And I'm not talking about these two characters alone. Other characters also so meticulously described. The writer in the theater artist has given a picture of it. Now you have to imitate those characters as you imitate real life people. The author himself, the dramatist himself, has created the illusion of reality. And when you see the character, all that you have to do is a deja vu, a nostalgia. You have to create an emotional memory between someone similar to the character you know and recall the characteristic features, the voice, the way they move, and all these things to make this character your character. You see, or else the character you will just fit in the character. There wouldn't be your contribution. You understand the difference? You are being faithful to the script. At the same time, when you play a role, that you should do justice to the role, you should satisfy the expectations of the dramatist. At the same time, you should make it your Shylock, your Bozola, your Hedda, your Cleopatra, your Julius Caesar, your Brutus. You have to make it. You see, I'm just quoting from English place since it is common to all. That's all. No other intention. No other intention. You see, if you do not understand it, you can type it and give it. I will explain it. You see, now the idea is so this physical dimension, some people would give even the twirling of the mustache. Shah talks about Sergius's character, a Byronic hero, she says, with a twirled mustache and a mountain chief shoulders and back. You see, he says, you see, similarly, Shah, Gibson, and many others, people from school of realism who try to imitate reality and try to give the character as much detail as possible. If you are writing a naturalistic play, then you would say that and twist the character. That will be different. There are other people like Arthur Miller or Tennessee Williams, the American playwrights. You see, these playwrights, what would they do? They would not give the minute details. They will leave a lyrical note in their description. For example, in Death of a Salesman, the central character, the titular character, Willie Loman, is said as someone who can be tired but not exhausted. You can never exhaust. He may be tired because of life. He is the victim of this consumer-driven concrete world. You see, but if he sees even a small spark of light, hope, immediately he will get up and give a jig and even pat his wife on the buttocks, on the back. You see, such a lively character. And how this American liveliness breaks down and he becomes mad, totally broken, like a wounded dog, like an abandoned dog. How the Americanness dies, the sap of America is crushed down by the concrete jungle, the consumer world. The play beautifully traces it, very effectively traces it. For the theater goers, you know, the play was directed by Elia Kazan, and The set design was made by Joe Mielziner. Joe Mielziner. The text we have now of Death of a Salesman has incorporated many suggestions made by Elia Kazan and the set designer Joe Mielziner. Because had not Joe Mielziner designed a type of sets which can be called lyrical expressionistic sets, the play wouldn't have been possible at all, because there are more than 40 scenes popping in and out of past and present, reverie and reality, dream, hallucination, and the presence, without dropping the curtain even once. So Joe Mielziner designed a beautiful set, you see, which by suggestive lighting and patterns, you see, took people from past to present and from reality to reverie. He has already done it for Tennessee Williams's The Glass Menagerie, the plastic theater, by using color lights, you see, and throwing the color lights. Instead of erecting the wall, he threw the light on the unstarched muslin cloth, which would conduct the light. So if I am talking about my wife who is in the other room, you see, when I am speaking, my wife will be lighted, you see, because the wall is not actually a concrete or a plank wall. The wall is a translucent curtain which can conduct light, It's exactly light, you see, conduct light. So Joe Mielziner's set design was incorporated into the text we carry today. And when Arthur Miller did that role, what did he do? After the play was over, one of his friends rushed to the green room and asked him, Dustin, you see, Dustin Hoffman did the role. Dustin, are you unwell? Your voice was almost squeaky and nasal. What happened to you? He asked. Dustin Hoffman answered in his baritone voice, you see, that he was imitating his father's voice. So a character is created and the character is enacted. The physical appearance can vary. Sometimes some people do not believe in replicating or duplicating the description given by the author. Some people give space for the director and the actor and the theater artist to improvise upon. So on one hand, in the first production of Death of a Salesman, Lee J. Cobb did the role. He was a mastodonic guy. When he fell down, when the tragedy occurred, it was like the fall of a civilization. Whereas Dustin Hoffman was a short man, you would have seen him. You see, the Rain Man, Doubtfire, Dootsy, you see, such beautiful roles he has done. You see, this Dustin Hoffman was a man of small stature. So when he met with the tragedy, when he fell down, Willie Loman's fall was interpreted as the tragedy of every man. Whereas when Lee J. Cobb doing the role of Willie Loman, he ended up tragically, people took it as a tragedy of a civilization. So the stature, the proportion changes. The emotional appeal doesn't change. So people like Arthur Miller give room. So when he gives room, how an actor should represent, as Dustin Hoffman did this here, there in A Streetcar Named Desire, even the director, Elia Kazan, did not do anything. He chose the best actress he knew, Vivian Lee, to enact the role of Dubois Blanche. You see, a widow, someone of a dubious past, descended from a rich family, but now penniless, seeking shelter in her younger sister's place in the north, totally displaced, uprooted. but very pathetically trying to maintain her prestige, dignity, which there is none. When she did the role, she just asked Vivian Lee, again a method actor, you see, to do the role. And he just let her do the role in the rehearsals and started taking notes. Who? The director, Elia Kazan. And after she has done a rehearsal, he would call her. You did that. Why did you do that? Then she will say, I felt like this. He will note it down. Remember, this is very much appealing. Do it again. So we can retain certain moves. We can retain certain gestures. And we can brush aside certain things. In the final performance, she gave a spellbinding performance as Juboy Blanche. Finally, she's raped and taken to a lunatic asylum. And she tells her unforgettable line, all my life, I have depended upon the kindness of the strangers. All my life, I have depended upon the kindness of the strangers. Now, can somebody say like that? No. Nobody should come to that utterance. Nobody should utter the line that all my life I have depended upon the kindness of the strangers. Strangers. That is what the heroine of the play does. And when she does that, the auditorium was moved. The role was over. And people asked Juboy Blanche, how could you do that? You are a superstar. You are rich. How could you present such a pathetic tone? Leave alone the dress she was wearing. She would wear good dress. You see, she would appear very voluptuously beautiful. Unlike her sister Stella, she is domestically beautiful. You see, if there is any such beauty exists, you see, I'm just using it for our convenience, you see. Whereas Juboy Blanche would be voluptuously beautiful like a teasing woman, but pathetic. Really, it is the mask she is wearing. Finally, she is raped by her sister's husband. And she did the role so powerfully that people asked, how did you do that? How the hell you did that? She said that I used a perfume which my dead, my demised best friend would use. My best friend is no more. But while she was alive, she would use a particular brand of perfume. I used the perfume while doing the role of Juboy Blanche. So psychologically, the smell. So what I am suggesting to you, there are many types of acting. There are many types of characters. But what I am suggesting you as a simple formula in this session is, I think we are getting late, you see, in this session is, can I have 10 more minutes, John Paul? Can I have 10 more minutes?
Yes,
John
sir.
Paul?
Yes, sir, yes, you can.
10 more minutes, you see. So what I am suggesting is that it should be some kind of objective correlate. Something like a dissociative sensibility, dissociation of sensibilities, objective correlatives. I'm not making it difficult at all. When you think of a character, there is a physical dimension, tall or short, weak or strong, so on and so forth. Ugly or presentable. Some people have given a chance. For example, Shakespeare doesn't give description of his characters except in the dialogue. There are cues in the dialogue. Or people like Arthur Miller gives you space to improvise. People like Bernard Shaw wants you to reproduce those characters. So there are wide varieties of play scripts. Now, as an actor, as a director, what will you do when you do that? You try. You see, this formula, I'm happy to say that this formula is suggested by someone for you only now. Nobody has suggested this formula. People have thought about the energy of the character. You see, the human energy can be equated with an animal energy, a bird or an animal. That is different, you see, because some animals represent certain qualities. So if you imagine them if you practice that energy, are you going to snarl like a tiger? Or are you going to prowl like a tiger? Or are you going to head up, prowls, walks up and down, paces up and down on stage, raising her hands above her head when she is left alone? And when she paces up and down, we are reminded certainly of a tiger inside a cage. Definitely. You see, like that. If you take people like John Webster, they would give a wide variety of bird imageries and animal imageries. For example, you see, Bozola is like a hyena, you see, and Ferdinand is like a wolf, Cardinal is like a fox, you see, the Duchess is like an English mastiff, powerful, which grows fierce by tying. The more you torture her, the stronger she becomes in the Duchess of Malfi. Alongside, he would give bird imagery. Some birds are strong birds, hunting birds. Some birds are free birds. They are not hunters, but they cannot remain inside. Free birds. Some birds are caged birds. You have to keep them inside a cage. They are meant to be in human society. I don't mean in animal kingdom. In human society, we consider them as caged birds, cage birds. You see, some birds are table birds. They are just to be eaten. They are to be used. We have human beings like that. These human beings can survive only by being used. Some human beings are to be kept. They are precious, but kept safely. Some human beings cannot be controlled. You see, they have to be let free. You see, whereas some birds, some human beings always prove their authority by disproving others, by defeating others. They are restless. They are restless, like bloodhounds, always barking. You see, so find an animal in it. This people have told you. In addition to that, what I am telling you, what I am suggesting you is, you use a dissociation of sensibility. What is it? When you think of the character, think deeply of the character. What smell comes to your mind? What food comes to your mind? What taste comes to your mind? Like that. What is the best book you have read? To which book you can associate the character with? Has this character has been represented in any song? Has this character you have seen slightly in any movie and fallen short of this character? Like that, use objective correlatives. Then the character created here you can represent as your own, because it is your imagination, your creative imagination, which recalls a smell, which recalls a taste, which recalls a sensory feeling, which recalls a song, which recalls a scene from your memory, from your cognitive library, from your cognitive catalog. Then you can truly represent that character. You see, I am not going to talk about body language or spatial management. You see, that comes automatically if you do all these things, whether to go away from the character or go near the character, so on and so forth. It is an ocean. It is an ocean. I have been discussing with you what is not easily available on net, in Google. That's all. If you have any questions pertaining to proxemics, kinesics, haptics, eye contact, or spatial management, or mimetic, you can ask me. If you want to talk about the two great schools, Stanislavski's system, which used psychological internal acting by creating an emotional memory and empathy between the character and the actor, or if you want to discuss about biomechanics, you see, naturalistic acting promoted by Gregor Meyerhold, which is physical external style of acting. You can feel annoyed, or by using certain traditional gestures, hand movements, and voice modulations. You see, tonal style. You can you can deliver a mood, you can deliver an emotion without actually living it. Without actually living it. If I look at the watch, then it is shown that I am not. It is getting late. Or when while you are talking to me, if I look away from you, then automatically, even though I am sitting in the front of the chair, I am actually betraying myself, or I am telling you that I am not all that interested in what you are saying. So this is physical, external, technical, external type of acting. The former is psychological, internal type of acting promoted by Stanislavski, called as Stanislavski's system, which entered the American actor studio and was rechristened as method acting, followed by such great actors like Charles Epstein, directors like Elia Kazan, and people like Marlon Brando, Vivian Lee, Al Pacino, all the Richard Burton, all these people are method actors, psychological, internal type of acting. And it is very difficult. People will not understand why he did certain complex gestures. It's very complicated, complex and complicated. Whereas Gregor Meyerhold will be executing certain universally significant body language, adapting certain postures, you see, hunching the shoulder or living straight up, you see. For example, you see, he will deliver some message. Later on, Jerry Grotowski told one thing. First, you realize what you are by walking, by speaking, by listening to you, by doing the same thing. Then you should know how you walk, how you speak, how you, whatever. Then try to do something other than that. He even started twisting his body. The latest version of the comic series Joker, done by Phoenix, exactly is Grotowski's system he has followed. Whether Phoenix accepted it or not, the very first introduction of the character, he would have his body twisted in various angles, unlike nothing natural there. That is, Jerry Grotowski asked us to twist our body and try to extend our body from our ordinary natural posture. Because for a long time I will be keeping my body in such a way that it becomes my posture. Now break that posture, liberate yourself from Ilango, and then only you can try to imitate him. That is Grotowski's advice. Now I am telling you, I am not Jerry Grotowski, apacharma. You see, blasphemy. But my humble idea is that try to adapt objective, correlative, and dissociation of sensibilities. These terms are literary terms. Apply them to theater. Try to imagine a smell or a taste or a sensory feeling or a song, something like that, with the character you are playing as the quintessence of the character. That is the nature of the character. Like Ben Jonson would say, the primal emotion of the character. Comedy of humors, he says, basic element of the character, hot, cold, phlegm, whatever it is. You see, you watery, whatever it is, or solid like earth, whatever it is, or acerbic like fire, whatever it is, or breezy like air, whatever it is. You see, basic element. And from that, you can modulate. You can fluctuate whenever the character goes away or goes deep inside from the neutral position. That is the neutral of the character. So try to associate some taste, some scent, some sensory feeling, some song, whatever comes to your mind spontaneously. After having understood the character, you try to associate the character with these things. Then you will do the character in your own way. Thank you so much. I can go on like this, but it's an ocean. It is not an exhaustive area. But if you have questions, you can ask me. John Paul, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, one
Yes, sir.
simple
Thank you so much,
question,
sir.
One clarification, sir. Sir, were you
please, sir.
able to follow my voice throughout, or was there any jerk or gap?
No, sir, your voice was clear, sir. You're
Clear.
completely audible. You're very clear, sir.
Then we can go through question and answer sessions.
Okay, participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute your mic and ask your questions.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. May I have your visual, sir?
Sir, yes, sir. I'll just.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yes,
we
sir.
have your visual, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you have no objection. Yes, sir, please tell
No,
me.
no, I don't. Certainly, I don't. And I would love to, in fact, show you myself because if you remember, you were there at the refresher course at Shimla in 2004,
Oh,
and I was one of the co-participants there.
Which refresher course, sir?
In English at Academic Staff College, Shimla, 2004. If I'm not mistaken.
Shimla, Shimla. No,
I
sir.
am Dr.
Sir,
No.
I have never been to Shimla.
Oh, then I'm mistaking you with somebody
mistaken me
else.
for somebody else, sir. You have mistaken
Anyway,
me.
sir, it was like.
Sir, it's nice to hear from you, Amit Kapoor, sir. Amit Kapoor, sir. Can you introduce yourself, sir? You are
Sir, I am heading the Department of English at Jayendrapuri Arts and Science College, Bharuch, Gujarat, which is affiliated to Veer Narmad South Gujarat University, Surat.
Thank you.
So
it's an honor for us to have you here in Tamil Nadu.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, was this lecture meet your expectation? Did it meet
Yes,
your
sir. That is that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was just going to say that it was a wonderfully, presented talk, very insightful, and the ins and outs of dramatics as well as theater you were able to throw light on. I was expecting, since you traveled all the way from ancient Greece up to the almost postmodern times, I was expecting something on Luigi Pirandello's Six Characters in Search of an Author. Right. Because when you are
Luigi Pirandello.
Yes, sir.
Because when you Sir,
you were talking about the creation of a character and then the execution of the character. So I was just reminded of that play. So could you throw some light on that?
Yeah, sure. With pleasure. Luigi Pirandello has written an excellent play on the plight of play world, dramatic world. You see, the play is 6 characters in search of an author. We also have a similar play by Badal Sarkar here. That is Yevam Indrajit. Now, the quarrel of Badal Sarkar and Luigi Pirandello was that we have been creating characters to satisfy people's expectations. We are not creating characters which people should know that they are existing, like the subaltern characters, like the marginalized characters, like the film noir, which Godard created in French New Wave. In French New Wave, we have a nocturnal life which people like us do not even know of as existing. So Luigi Pirandello created a theater which could be well staged in voodoo theater style. The voodoo theater style is the entire theater is a rehearsal. We have here another play, Silence, the Court is in Session. Silence, the Court is in Session. The rehearsal is the play. So the play in Luigi Pirandello's experimental absurd drama, absurd theater, experimental theater, existential theater, or rather absurd drama, the theater becomes a ritual where the characters find themselves. There is a script, but the script is on script. The characters are on how the characters are evolved, or how the characters should be evolved. So that is the basic idea of Luigi Pirandello. It is a subversion of theater of realism, because realism is not actually representing realism, like surrealism and Dadaism. You see, absurd. Luigi Pirandello's The Theater of the Absurd can be called the theater of cruelty. The theater of cruelty. If you ask Peter Brook, the famous dramatist, Peter Brook, he would call this play as the theater of cruelty, because theater becomes an ordeal, an Agni Pravesam for the actors and the audience. So when you leave the theater, you don't leave the theater satisfied. You leave the theater knocked off his complacence, having exposed to such life and being exposed as what you are really. Such things happen when you watch certain movies. You see, when you read such stories, we feel that we are irresponsible. We have been leading a life irresponsibly. For example, you have Edward Albee's The Zoo Story. The Zoo Story also is like Luigi Pirandello's Six Characters in Search of an Author is a theater of cruelty. There, the enactment, the meeting becomes an ordeal, a fire sermon for you to become refined in the tough way. I think I have answered you, sir. Have I? Any other question? Amit, sir, have I answered you, sir? Kapoor, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was really enlightening. It was so very thankful to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes, please.
This is Shafkat Ali Badiyar from Global College, Hubli. So my question is the character of Shylock agotho-cacological, or is he can be considered a hero entrusted upon unheroic circumstances?
Sir, that is a debatable question, because we always want to see characters and human beings as binary opposites, either good or bad, hero or villain. But humanity generally is gray shaded. If you take Shylock's character, we cannot say that Shylock did not do anything wrong. The very idea that Shylock is not able to sustain his servant, Shylock is not able to sustain his daughter, tells us that there is something inherently deprived. There is an innate deprivation in the character of Shylock. So Shylock's character cannot be called blemishless. At the same time, as theater people, we have to evolve a debate here, because theater is there to evolve the dialogue. You see, so by evolving a dialogue on Shylock's character, we should ask why Shylock became so. We have to move back and forth to understand Shylock in the past. We come to know later in the play that Shylock really loved his wife and preserved the ring she gave. You see, he's a miser, but still he loves that ring so much. You see, and he's a very religious person. He's not a religious fanatic. He's a religious person. That's all. And nowhere in the play he indulges in immoral activities like Bassanio, gambler. You see, like Lorenzo eloping with someone else's daughter. You see, or Graciano, a stupid fool who speaks an infinite deal of nothing, or other characters. There are many Salario and Salanio who are actually debauched. Shylock has no such character. Shylock is called a miser by the Christian community, whom Shylock calls spendthrifts. But I am coming to your question, sir. Inherent in Shakespeare's play is a fact that the plight the Jews were put during Elizabethan time, even in Venice, which is supposed to be the most liberal state of all Christian kingdoms. In all Christian kingdoms, Venice was supposed to be the most liberal, tolerant state, because it was a trade state. It was a trade colony. It was a commercial colony. You see, so politically it ought to be liberal. Even in that Venetian state, Jews were asked to wear taffeta. They were asked to wear yellow or red cap. The red cap, the taffeta costume, would be worn only by the sex workers of those days in England and in Venice, in those British kingdoms. Only the sex workers would wear it. These people were forced to wear it. So everywhere insult, whether you are religious, whether you are rich, whether you are a family man, whatever you are, You are derisively commented upon. You are treated like a dog. So at one point, when Antonio asked money to Shylock for his friend Bassanio, Shylock tells him that, dear Mr. Antonio, Mr. Antonio, the other day you spat on my Jewish garbage, and still another day you spurned me like a stranger cur from your presence. Spurned means kick, cur means dog. If a stray dog enter our household, how we will kick it out? Like that, wherever you saw me, you kicked me out of that space. Now you come and say, Shylock, we would have monies. What should I say? Should I say that since all the courtesies you did to me, I give you money? What should I say? Even then, Antonio says, I will stick on you. I will call you cur. If you lend money to me, lend it as to my enemy, as to your enemy, or not to your friend. Because when did friendship expect, when did friendship expect interest? Ushari. Yes. So even then, even when people beg to him, they do not beg. Even when they are in the beggar's position, corner, they do not beg because he is Jews. Because so Shylock is retaliating. That is a beautiful passage. I don't want to go into the passage. So I will not call Shylock a hero. I will not call Shylock innocent. I will not call Shylock blemishless. Even money lending, the Venetians needed because they were businessmen. But Christianity prevented them, like Hinduism or Islam. You see, all these religions prevent people from lending money for interest. You see, neither a borrower nor a lender be. You see, you should not give money for interest. You should not get interest for your investment. You see, that is what Quran says. That is what Christianity says. That is what Hinduism says. But these business people, when Hindus or Muslims or Christians, when they go for trade, they need more money than what they have. So they need money lenders. Judaism allows these people, their practice allows these people to lend money. So they need money lenders and they would ill treat them. You see, we need scavengers and they are untouchables. We need washermen, but we treat them as untouchables. You see this, In that way, I am sympathetic towards Shylock. As Yevtushenko says, no Jew I am, no Dalit I am, but as a human being, till the last Dalit is insulted, till the last Jew is insulted, as a human being, I will raise my voice against that. If Shakespeare, who was such a Christian, who was also an Elizabethan, prejudiced against the Jews, could create as a humanist such a character, such lines he can attribute. Why can't we, the survivors of World War II, why can't we, after having seen the Holocaust, where Jews were burnt alive, because people thought, I'm not exaggerating, I'm giving you the scientific historical truth. Jews were burnt alive, disabled, old, Jews were burnt alive to keep the chimneys smoking, because Jewish fat was considered cheaper than animal fat. Read Gulag Archipelago. You see, Holocaust. They underwent so much of suffering. So after having seen it, how we can restrain ourselves from pitying the Jews, especially Shylock, who says, for suffering is the badge of all our tribe. Certainly, the majority has offended the minority, so the minority tends to retaliate. That is the line here. Shylock is not a hero. He is not a born villain. He was made a villain. He was made a villain. This is my understanding of the play as Shakespeare has presented. Sir?
Yes, sir, definitely. I do agree with your point. As the quotation from Shylock, where he says, "The villainy you teach me, I will execute."
I will
And
execute. See, if
when
you
he
tickle us,
states,
do we not
"Yes,
laugh?
do not
If
laugh. If you
you
poison
prick
us,
us,
do
do we
not have
not bleed? Or don't
wronged
we
us."
have are we not hunger? Don't we have hunger? Are we not
Yes,
satisfied with the same food you eat? Are we not
yes,
cured by the same medicine you apply? You see,
yes,
then if you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you
yes,
prick us, do we not bleed? If you offend us, do we not revenge? The villainy you taught me, I will execute.
Execute.
Now you go deeper. The lesson you
Yes.
taught me, I will execute. You will go deeper, he says.
Yes. Yes.
I
Same
thought
thing,
you know
sir.
would have done excellently.
Yes, yes, he has done an exceptional job, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
if you permit, there is one more small question attached to it. That
yeah.
is Girish Karnad. Can you just put light on the characters of Girish Karnad as the mixture of realism and imagination?
It is an oceanic question, sir. But Greece cannot always focused on what can be called for our convenience as betweenness. There is a point. At that point, genders meet. At that point, extreme characters meet. At that point, knowledge and foolishness meet. At that point, virtue and vice meet. At that point, God and human beings meet. The priest and the villain meet. So he always chose that moment, whether it is fire and the rain, or Taleda, or Nagamandala, or more importantly, Hayavadana. You see,
Teledanda.
he chooses that betweenness. That is Grish Karnad in one word. The quintessence of Grish Karnad is to identify where this demarcation between the extremes, the extremities blur.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much, sir. I have, I have copied the questions from the chat box, both from
Yes.
Google Meet as for Tube Live, and I will send you the questions, sir. And we expect you to give
Sure,
your answer
sure,
at
sure.
the
My
earliest and
pleasure.
send them the answers to their mail, sir. Yes, sir. Due
Sure,
to the
my pleasure.
time constraint, we'll close the webinar.
Yes, I understand.
And so, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and spending your valuable time here.
Thanks for the
and
opportunity
explaining
you
us
gave me.
and very detailed. So your lecture was truly inspiring, and we learned a lot on characterization as well as the dramatic structures and also. And hope to have a few more sessions with you, sir, in
Honored, sir.
if possible.
Honored.
Yes, sir.
Honored.
Yes, sir.
Honored.
On
I'm
behalf of
very
the
thankful
management
to
of Sri Krishnaditya College of Arts and Science and the staff and the students of Department of English, we would like to give sincere thanks to you, and thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I thank all the scholars from various parts of India. It is a privilege and honor to meet you all. Thank you so much. Shall I leave now? Who is John Paul, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, please, sir.
Shall I leave the meet? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
சார் முடிஞ்சுதுங்களா சார்? ஸ்ட்ரீமிங் ஆஃப் பண்ணிடலாமா சார்? ஓகே சார், தேங்க்யூ. இது நம்ம இது நம்மளுது